Hello everyone, you're watching World News Program with me, Mirinzian. To the headlines. Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune concludes state visit to Oman with key investment opportunities and multiple memorandums of understanding signed. Also coming up, 100 people died in horrific massacre by occupation forces at residential building in Beit Lahia, northern Gaza, as Hamas denounces continued Israeli ethnic cleansing in the region. Next, Gaza Health Ministry warns of dire hospital conditions in northern Gaza and urges immediate cessation of massacres and humanitarian aid. Kamal Adwan Hospital director reports only one doctor available for entire hospital after arrest of medical staff by occupation forces. And during UN Security Council session on the Middle East and Palestinian issue, Algeria warns against Israeli destructive policies and forced displacement of Palestinians, condemns occupation's decisions against UNRWA, and stresses that occupation practices threaten international peace and security. And the death toll rises to 11 in a Ram airstrike in Lebanon, with 5 also killed and 33 injured in Israeli shelling of Harat Saida, Lebanon. Details after the break. Hello and welcome back to the details. As part of the state visit by Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune to the Sultanate of Oman, Algeria and Oman signed 8 memorandums of understanding and cooperation on Tuesday. The memoranda of understanding signed at the Royal Al Alam Palace cover areas including education, employment and training, media, higher education and scientific research, as well as cooperation in organizing events and conferences, investment promotion and financial services, and the fields of environment and sustainable development. On Tuesday morning in Muscat, Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune and Oman's Sultan Haytham bin Tariq led extended discussions between the two countries' delegations. The talks held at the Royal Al Alam Palace covered topics related to bilateral cooperation and explored ways to expand it to broader horizons. They also addressed issues concerning the Arab world, the situation in the Middle East, and current international affairs. President Abdelmajid Tebboune received an official welcome by His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Said of Oman at the Royal Al Alam Palace. The presidential convoy arrived at the Royal Palace, where President Tebboune and Sultan Haytham listened to the national anthems of Algeria and Oman, accompanied by a 21-gun salute honoring the Algerian president's visit to the Sultanate of Oman.
السلام الوطني للجمهورية الجزائرية الديمقراطية الشعبية. تراب
The Sultan of Oman, Haytham bin Tariq, awarded on Tuesday the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Order of As-Sayyid, the highest distinction of the Sultanate of Oman, in recognition for the deep bonds of fraternity and close friendship that unite the two countries and the two brotherly peoples. For his part, President Abdelmajid Tebboune awarded the Sultan of Oman, Haytham bin Tariq, the Al-Athir Medal of the Order of National Merit, the highest Algerian distinction. As part of his visit to the Sultanate of Oman, Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune received Saad bin Suhail al-Mukhaini Bahwan, a major stakeholder in the economic group and the Algerian Omani Fertilizer Company, at his residence in Muscat. An Algerian presidential statement indicated that the meeting was attended by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Energy, and the Director General of the Algerian Investment Promotion Agency. Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune stated that over 9,400 investment projects were recorded within a span of 14 months, renewing his call for both Algerian and foreign investors to engage in this endeavor. This statement was made during a meeting on Monday evening in Muscat with representatives of the Algerian community residing in the Sultanate of Oman as part of his state visit to the country.
مع الناس النزهاء الوطنيين باش يربح شيء طبيعي. الانسان اللي يقول انا ما نربحش هذا ماشي تاجر ماهوش مستثمر، ولكن تربح معك البلاد كذلك، نربح مناصب شغل، نربح العملة الصعبة تدخل. إذن فيه إلى يومنا هذا اليوم اللي نكلمكم فيه في ظرف 14 شهر 9400 مشروع استثماري. اللي يحب يستثمر ما يفوت لا على رئيس بلدية ولا على رئيس دائرة ولا على والي ولا على وزير ولا يحزنون. أنا التزمت يوم أداء اليمين الدستورية أن نلحق إلى 20,000 مشروع استثماري. ممكن كل واحد يدخل في المشروع هذا سواء كان في الداخل أو في الخارج.
Attendees from the Algerian community in the Sultanate of Oman expressed their appreciation for President Tebboun's remarks and voiced their gratitude for his meetings with the Algerian diaspora during his various visits abroad. Let's take a listen.
دولة عمان قريبة لنا جدا جدا، وماذا بنا تكون فيه تلاحم حقيقي ثقافي وغير ثقافي إلى آخره. إذن سعادة السفير موجود، نطلب منه من اليوم يشوف وزير الخارجية موجود كذلك، شوف مكان اللي يشرف الثقافة الجزائرية وفتح لنا مركز ثقافي تاع الجزائر في العاصمة.
Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune's visit to the Sultanate of Oman marked the culmination of a long-standing journey of bilateral cooperation connecting Algeria and Muscat with strong political ties defined by shared perspectives and common values as well as economic collaboration. Marwa Blaiwer has more details.
Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune has landed at Muscat International Airport in the Sultanate of Oman for a 3-day state visit. This trip highlights his commitment to revitalizing Algerian diplomacy, emphasizing mutual respect and non-interference in the internal affairs of other nations. Algeria and Oman share a deep bond of brotherhood and friendship since 1970s. Oman has described this visit as significant and a turning point in their bilateral ties as the two nations' foreign policies align closely, predominantly regarding the Palestinian cause, as well as efforts to strengthen Arab relations, reflecting their shared values. A robust parliamentary partnership has also emerged, fostering greater unity between the two nations. The strong political ties between Algeria and Oman enhance the significance of this historic first-of-kind visit by an Algerian president to the Sultanate. This trip has led to important agreements that build on the outcomes of the 18th Algerian-Omani Joint Committee held last June, reflecting their shared ambitions for economic stability and growth.
As for cooperation with the Sultanate of Oman, the political quality of the relations between the two countries will pave the way and provide a solid foundation for collaboration. Consequently, the experience of petrochemicals and fertilizers shared between the two nations will be expanded to other sectors. Additionally, there are memorandums of understanding that encompass financial reform, investment, and the organization of events.
Positivity defines the relationship between Muscat and Algiers. While political and economic ties are central, observers view this trip as a crucial step for Algeria in addressing the challenges facing the Arab region. President Tebboune is actively seeking collaboration with his Arab counterparts to develop urgent solutions to the region's escalating crises.
And now stay tuned and stay with us. We'll be back after the break with the latest updates on the situation in Palestine. Over 100 people, mostly women and children, were killed in a Zionist airstrike on a residential building in Beit Lahia on Tuesday. The Palestinian news agency Wafa reported that many victims remain trapped under the rubble while emergency services are hindered by ongoing attacks. Usama Ayadi has the report.
At least 100 Palestinians were killed and dozens of others wounded in a Zionist strike on a residential building in the southern Gaza town of Beit Lahia on Tuesday. The Palestinian Civil Emergency Service also affirmed that many victims were believed to still be trapped under the rubble of the building that was reduced to rubble immediately after the deadly strike.
The house of Abu Nasser family in Beit Lahia project was bombed. It is formed of 4 floors. There are tens of martyrs. Tens of displaced people were living in this house. The house was bombed without prior warning.
The official Palestinian agency Wafa and Hamas media also reported that the majority of those killed in the strike were women and children. This massacre comes after a series of attacks launched by the Zionist army on various regions of the besieged Gaza Strip.
As you can see, martyrs here and there, with body parts hanging on the walls. The neighbors and everything in Beit Lahia, residents of Beit Lahia.
Furthermore, Gaza's emergency service reported that its operations had come to a halt because of the 3-week Zionist assault into northern Gaza. The Zionist entity repeatedly reacts to the deadly massacres and ethnic cleansing, claiming it was part of its efforts to prevent Al-Qassam brigades from regrouping. However, only civilians who bear the brunt of the Zionist war crimes facing merciless waves of the occupation's onslaught.
The government media office in Gaza confirmed that the Zionist army committed a massacre in Beit Lahia despite knowing that the residential building it bombed housed dozens of displaced civilians, mostly women and children. In a statement, the media office emphasized that this new crime coincides with the Israeli occupation's plan to collapse the healthcare system in North Gaza, destroying 4 hospitals and rendering them inoperative, while also blocking the entry of medications and medical supplies.
We condemn the Israeli occupation's perpetration of this new massacre against civilians, children, and women, which has so far resulted in 93 martyrs. We call on all countries of the world to denounce this horrific massacre against the displaced, civilians, especially children and women. We urgently call on the international community and international and United Nations organizations to immediately send surgical medical teams, along with ambulances and civil defense units, to North Gaza before it is too late.
The Zionist occupation forces committed 4 massacres against families in the Gaza Strip within a 24-hour period, resulting in 41 martyrs and 113 injuries arriving at hospitals. A statement from the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza indicated that the toll from the Israeli aggression on the Strip has risen to 43,061 martyrs since October 7. Occupation forces set fire to the Al Fakhura school, which is operated by UNRWA in the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza Strip. Local sources reported that the occupation forces burned the school after destroying parts of it. And in a press conference, Dr. Marwan Al-Hams, director of field hospitals in Gaza, highlighted the severe challenges facing the healthcare system in the Gaza Strip. He stated that the ongoing Zionist extermination war has led to an overwhelming number of martyrs, wounded and injured.
The Palestinian Ministry of Health is facing a major challenge due to the large number of martyrs, wounded and injured, especially in Gaza in general and in the north of the Strip in particular. There are no specialized medical cadres in hospitals, no ambulances, no medicines or medical supplies after the occupation besieged to those three hospitals: Kamal Adwan Hospital, Indonesian Hospital and Al-Auda Hospital.
Marwan Al-Hams urged international organizations to intervene and halt the war and the acts of extermination faced by Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. He called for the protection of hospitals and medical staff amid the ongoing crisis.
We call for an immediate halt to this war and the ongoing massacre against our Palestinian people throughout the Gaza Strip. We urgently appeal for the protection and security of hospitals and medical teams, which are safeguarded both legally and internationally. We also call on international organizations and the World Health Organization to dispatch medical teams, especially surgical teams, to northern Gaza.
Director of Kamal Adwan Hospital in the northern Gaza Strip confirmed that the situation is catastrophic in every sense of the word, especially after the Zionist army stormed the hospital and arrested all the medical staff, leaving only one doctor, a pediatrician. He added that the nature of the cases that reached them are all surgical injuries that require urgent surgical intervention. He said the hospital can only provide first aid, but the cases that require surgical treatment require exploration and stopping the bleeding. The Zionist occupation confirmed the deaths of 4 soldiers, including an officer, and several serious injuries due to an explosive device in the Jabalia building, northern Gaza Strip. The soldiers were part of the commando or multi-dimensional unit. This brings the total military casualties in the Israeli forces to 776 since October 7, 2023. And Algeria condemned in the strongest terms the Zionist entity's adoption of the 2 laws aimed at undermining the activities of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees UNRWA in the occupied Palestinian territories, in blatant violation of basic principles of international law. A statement by the Algerian Foreign Ministry said that the continued targeting by the Zionist entity of the agency and its symbolic will have serious humanitarian consequences for millions of Palestinian refugees who depend on the agency's services. And in the same context, Algeria renewed its support for UNRWA. The Algerian Foreign Ministry stressed in its statement that there is no alternative to this international agency that represents the backbone of humanitarian work in the occupied Palestinian territories and which must be enabled to continue carrying out its mandate until the establishment of an independent and sovereign Palestinian state. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has expressed its deep concern over the adoption by the Knesset of the Zionist entity of the 2 laws which would likely prevent UNRWA's continuing its essential work in occupied Palestinian territory, including East al-Quds. Guterres affirmed that UNRWA is the principal means by which essential assistance is supplied to Palestine refugees in the occupied Palestinian territory, as he reckoned that there is no alternative to UNRWA.
I call on Israel to act consistently with its obligations under the Charter of the United Nations and its other obligations under international law, including under international humanitarian law and those concerning privileges and immunities of the United Nations. National legislation cannot alter those obligations. As I said before, UNRWA is indispensable.
And the WHO Director Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus warned that Israel's ban on the operations of the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees could have devastating consequences. In a post on the platform X, Ghebreyesus stressed that the Israeli Knesset's decision is unacceptable and contradicts Israel's obligations and responsibilities.
UNRWA was established by United Nations member states, and the Israeli parliament's decision to prohibit UNRWA from carrying out its mission to protect the lives and health of millions of Palestinians will have devastating consequences. This is unacceptable, as it contradicts Israel's commitments and obligations and endangers the lives and health of those who depend on UNRWA.
And Algeria has warned that the Middle East, particularly Palestine, is experiencing escalating violence due to intensified Zionist aggression, now extending into Lebanon and Syria. In his address at a UN Security Council session dedicated to the Middle East situation and the Palestinian issue, Algeria's permanent representative to the UN, Ammar Ben Jama, stated that the actions of the occupying forces pose a real threat to regional stability as well as to international peace and security.
For over a year now, the Middle East, and Palestine in particular, have been gripped by worsening violence. The brutal Israeli aggression escalates daily, spilling over into Lebanon, into Syria, and beyond. A real threat to regional stability, as well as international peace and security. We witness entire communities facing death, starvation, and outbreaks. Land desecrated, and international law rendered meaningless.
The spokesperson for the Qatari Foreign Ministry, Majid Al-Ansari, stated that discussions are ongoing in the Qatari capital, Doha, aimed at containing the conflict in Gaza and preventing its escalation in the region. He indicated that efforts and communications are continuing regarding a deal in Lebanon. In a press conference held on Tuesday, Al-Ansari added that negotiations have achieved significant progress so far.
We have been working tirelessly with this administration and with the United States, and we appreciate the support that the process has received from the U.S. administration up to now. And to the last minute, I think we will be working with the administration on achieving a deal in Gaza. Secretary Blinken was here a couple of days ago, and communication is still very lively and open with our counterparts in the U.S. administration. We don't foresee any negative result of the elections on the mediation process itself. We believe that we are dealing with institutions in a country like the United States, and the institutions are invested in finding a resolution to this crisis.
We move now to news and updates on the aggression or the Zionist aggression on Lebanon. So the Lebanese news agency reported that the number of martyrs from the massacre carried out by the Israeli occupation's warplane in the town of Al-Ram in northern Bekaa has risen to 11. Same sources added that the identities of the martyrs, who belong to the Noon family, have been confirmed after the body of one martyr was found dozens of meters away from the site of the airstrike, along with the recovery of the remains of another martyr at the targeted location. And at least 5 Lebanese were martyred and 33 others injured in Israeli shelling of residential buildings in Harat Saida southern Lebanon. The Lebanese news agency reported ongoing rescue efforts to clear rubble and recover the victims. And Hezbollah elected Naim Qassem as its new Secretary General, succeeding the late Hassan Nasrallah. The party's Shura Council reached this decision to reaffirm its commitment to its principles and objectives, emphasizing its dedication to maintaining the resistance until victory is achieved. And in other news, as a special envoy of Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dounis Magramat, delivered a written message from President Tebboune to the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, to Qatari Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani, on Tuesday morning in Doha, according to a statement from the Algerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The source indicated that the two sides reviewed on this occasion the distinguished bilateral relations and discussed ways to elevate them to higher levels in line with the high directives of the leaders of both countries and their mutual commitment to giving a strategic nature to bilateral partnership. And finally, to wrap up our edition, the activities of the Trek Algeria Trail in the province of Janet, south of Algeria, continue in its second phase within the third edition of this marathon. More than 83 competitors, including 78 foreign nationalities, are participating in the Trek Janet race, which will continue until November 1st. The sporting event brings together athletes from 10 different countries in addition to Algerian competitors. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for tonight's program. Thanks for following and have a good night.